Alright, here we go. This is the final installation setup of the irrigation system for my watermelon patch. We have a 1 horsepower centrifugal cast iron lawn sprinkler pump manufactured by Wayne Pumps. And this pump has the option of being wired up to 230 volts or 115. And I wired it up to 230. It was just easier to do that way. So the canal water feeds the ditch in front of the property. As you can see here, that's the ditch in front of the property. And then it comes on over to this pool type area where it enters the stilling well. And right here is the 2-inch suction line to the pump. And down at the bottom, you can't see it because it's under the water. I've got a foot valve, which basically has a stainless steel screen on it. And it has a built-in check valve. So after this pump is primed up and starts moving water and I shut the pump off, the pump stays primed. I don't want to have to keep priming the pump every time I need the water, so that's why I installed the foot valve way down there at the bottom, so it prevents any water that's in here after the pump stops from flowing back into the well. So let's get up real close and personal here. We've got a 2-inch suction line that goes into the pump, and on the outlet work side we have a 1.5-inch discharge line. We got a 90-degree bend here, and from this 90-degree bend we come over to this 1.5-inch T, and from here we've got a 1.5-inch by 3/4 reducer where I install the 3/4-inch nipple and a 3/4-inch female to garden hose connection so I could install this pressure gauge. Alright, so this port allows me to prime the system initially. This is my only port to prime. So basically when everything is dry and I'm ready to start this thing up and there's water in the well, I pour water in here, it drops down and over into the pump, fills up that centrifugal pump area, and then it starts pouring into the 2-inch suction line where it drops down, hits the check valve, and it fills up this pipe. And once this pipe is full, then the inside of the pump fills up, and then you can turn the pump on and it's primed and you'll start pumping water. So coming from this 1.5-inch T, we're going to go to a 1.5-inch to 2-inch adapter section. So 1.5-inch here, 2 inches here. Going on down the discharge line, we come to this union. You gotta have a union with this stuff, and the big reason why I installed this union is because after the irrigation season is done and winter time comes in, I want to be able to remove the pump from the well, disconnect it from the power supply, drain it out, and store it inside where it's not going to freeze. So this union allows me to do that because I can unscrew this right here, and from here on back it separates. So I can take this entire setup over here and drain it and store it inside for the winter so nothing cracks and I can reuse it the next year. As we keep on going here, 90-degree elbow, 90-degree elbow, and then we come to this check valve. Okay, this check valve basically helps keep the system primed again. It's just another check valve in the system, and it prevents any type of backflow. Moving on down, we come to this 2-inch air release, and then after the 2-inch air release, we obviously have just 2-inch line, and then it goes to the 2-inch to 4-inch adapter. And that 4-inch line runs along the side of the property to the back field where I've got my watermelons. Another thing that I did here is I supported my joints with these bricks. I didn't want any of my joints to be hanging alone. You really want to support all your joints when you're doing PVC work of any type of scale like this, because water's heavy. And when you fill up your pipes, if you don't support your joints and if you make a bad joint, the weight of the water could bend the joint, crack the pipe, crack the glue that holds the joint together, and then you've got a leak. So do it right the first time so you don't have to deal with your mistakes, and do it right. So this is the Headworks area of the irrigation system. So like I said, we've got this 4-inch line going to the back of the property. We're gonna go back there right now, and I'll show you what kind of hardware I've got back there, so you've got an idea of what's going on. And we've got a 45-degree bend right there, and another little 30-foot run. Here's the field. Okay, another 45-degree bend, and then we go back to a 2-inch, and then we've got another union, so I can disconnect the 2-inch side from the 4-inch side at the end of the irrigation season, so I can drain everything out so nothing freezes and cracks over winter. And then moving on down the 2-inch, we come to this ball valve that I have installed here. Right now it's in the off position, but if I wanted to turn it on, you just turn it just like that, and that allows water from the pump to flow out into the field. So from that ball valve, we come to a 90 up, a 90 over, and then we come to this filter arrangement. This is basically a disc filter, and I'm going to take this apart in a few minutes to show you what it looks like inside, but it basically filters out all the big stuff from the canal water, such as grass clippings, maybe a bug or two, and any type of small leaves or whatnot that may happen to have bypassed that foot valve screen in the well. So it gets filtered out here, and then moving on down outside the filter, so the water comes in this way, it goes in the filter, out the filter. We've got another pressure gauge here, same thing as up at the Headworks, and then we have the 3/4 inch female to garden hose connection where I installed this pressure gauge. You got to know what the pressure is. To me anyway, I want to know what the pressure is at the field, okay, because you can get a difference between where your pump is and actually where the water is going to start being used in the field. So that's why I've got this pressure gauge installed. So we exit the pressure gauge T, and we keep going on down, 90 out, down to another 90, and then we come over to these other T's, 2-inch by 3/4 inch, I believe, or 1 inch. I don't remember exactly what it is, but each one of my drip line rows, which runs the length of the field right there, I've got 10 total rows, and each row is serviced by a drip line. Okay, and there's holes. You can't really see it too well, but there's slits every 8 inches on this entire drip line, and it runs underneath my black plastic to feed my watermelon plants. And this drip line emits 0.85 gallons per minute per 100 feet of row. So altogether I've got 10 total rows. It's about 22 and change, 23 gallons a minute for the whole field. So in order for this drip line to work properly, I don't want it to be clogged up. So that's why I have installed these filters. These are 200 mesh screen filters. I'll show you what they look like. So this top just unscrews right here, and then there's this 200 mesh screen, just like that. It's a little dirty, and I'm going to show you how I clean it. I basically take a garden hose to it, and it washes off really nice. So that's the 200 mesh screen filter. So it filters out all the fines that make it past this big filter, so I don't clog up my holes in my drip line, because that's the last thing you want to have to deal with, is clogged holes in your drip line. So on the downstream side of this filter, we go to a pressure regulator, which is an absolute must for this system. If I didn't have this pressure regulator, every single one of these drip lines would explode, because they're only rated for 10 psi to operate at. So I've got 10 psi pressure regulators and 10 200 mesh screen filters that service this whole field. And it's difficult to see, but my header pipe runs all the way down there. I've got it covered with some hay, straw, and other yard clippings and debris to keep the sunlight off the PVC. So like I said earlier, I want to show you how this filter works here. So This is a cleaning day today, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lever, I'm going to pull it back just like that, and this is like a big old clamp that goes around the filter. Put this off to the side, just lift it up slightly and take away the brick that supports the whole bottom part, and this bottom part pulls away. Whoop, here we go. Okay. So that water is actually not too bad. So you've got this O-ring that came off when I took it out, but that just basically goes around the lip like this. And then when I clean this, I just dump it out. And then you can take off this disc section here. So this has a ton of discs, and this is actually really, really clean. I mean, you can see a couple grass blades and a little teeny tiny twigs, but this is really, really clean for 10 hours of operating. And if this was dirty, basically what I would do is I unscrew this part down at the bottom here. This unscrews, pops out like this, and each one of these discs pops out, and you basically just squirt it with a garden hose and it cleans it out really, really well. So let me try to show you guys how this works here so you can see. So all these discs have these grooves, and the water passes in this way, so it traps, these grooves trap all the dirt and the leaves and the grass clippings, and the clean water comes out the middle. But I don't know how many discs are on this thing, say maybe a couple hundred or so. I mean, it's a pretty big thing. I mean, it's about a foot or so tall, but it does the job. So let's screw this back in here. I won't show you squirting it off because it doesn't need to be squirted off. But when I do need to clean this and squirt everything down, everything comes off really, really easily. Nothing's difficult with this plastic. It just flies right off. So the installation is the reverse of taking it apart. So after this is cleaned out, this basically goes in here. You get it up, you squeeze it back up in there. You take your canister, put this O-ring nice back here nicely, and this comes back up around the outer edge. And once that's up, you can put your clamp back on. Okay. And then when you pull it down, when you push this lever, it pulls this up so that O-ring makes a good seal. Just like that. And this is good. Back in action, and then I put this brick underneath it. So it gives a little support there. Doesn't have to be perfect because there's not a lot of weight with this. But that's how I clean this big filter to service the whole field. And now we're gonna go flush out some of those little guys, those little Y filters. So I'll show you how I do that. Here we go. Okay, so I took all those little 200 mesh filters out. I got 10 of them in the bottom of the bucket there. They are pretty darn dirty. That's pretty dirty, okay? That's about 10 hours of irrigating. So basically all you do to clean this out is you hose it out from the outside. And I'll show you. If you can see this here, I basically just like that, and clean her out real good. And this hose does a pretty darn good job at cleaning all that junk out. And I do this for each of the filters. And there you go. See that? Nice and clean. And installation of the clean filters is the reverse of the removal. So you unscrew this cap. Here's the clean filter. The open end goes in first. Doesn't that look nice and pretty? So it goes in just as such, just like that. You push that in, and then the cap goes right back on tap. And then you snug it till it stops. And that's it. Good for another 10 hours of irrigating. I'm very happy with the irrigation setup here. It's a really great way to irrigate your melons. The weeds are getting a little out of control here. I gotta knock them down in a few days before these melons start to go, because they are growing quite well. Look at that. That's one plant right there. And I've got about 400 or so plants. So that is the irrigation system to feed and service this watermelon patch. It's about 2/3 of an acre of watermelon, and it gives you guys a good idea of what I did to make this functional and operate properly. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, peace.